Hi, Howard.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear?
Good. I
Do you
finally got
see?
my camera working.
Yeah, it works. Hello?
Yes, you can see. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay, great. If there's any problem with feedback, let me know, and I will mute my microphone when others are speaking.
Okay, ho sentiu? Okay, I show you the people that are attending,
Okay.
just to, they will say hello to you. It's a small group of people, but good people, that are going to help us in this pilot of alumni. They are experts in work around society, information society, and they very interested in social communities, virtual communities, and that's why they are here to really listen to you. And then we will start from next week the pilot, okay? And we hope that they will participate actively, and we hope that you will participate also to our community, okay?
All right.
So I give you, I mean, did you receive my email?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I give you your turn and explain whatever you think it could be interesting for us, and then some people then will ask you some questions later. Is that fine?
All right.
Okay.
All right, good. Well, I'm going to talk first generally about challenges facing social media and virtual communities today, and why they're important. I don't think I need to say much about that because your presence here indicates that you recognize the importance of it. And then I want to talk a little bit about this pilot project of starting an online community with the alumni of your institution. Uh, when I first started writing about this a long time ago, people who valued communicating online um, understood and were enthusiastic about that value, but it wasn't such an overwhelming part of modern society. It was really something that a fringe group of enthusiasts did. So I think today it's pretty obvious. You can't really read the newspaper without seeing something about online social networks or new services like Twitter or things that people are doing with Facebook or MySpace. Of course, particularly with your university having been online for a long time, the fact that people communicate together online is nothing new to you. But now we're joined by not just the world of education, but world of government, and it's a world in which young people are immersed from quite an early age. Increasingly, uh, a significant portion of the world's population are using social media. There's something like over 1 billion people on the internet, around 4 billion mobile phones, which are increasingly being used to connect with the internet. And we have enormous uh, online communities forming in China and, of course, all over the world. I think now the primary challenge is one of literacy, that is, of knowing how to use these media. The, the challenge had been for many years to create an infrastructure to wire the world, and then with the advent of wireless communications to untether that wiring so that people were connected to the network. And then, of course, the issue of the digital divide, of people being able to afford access, of expanding from just a small elite of the wealthiest and most technically knowledgeable people to a significant portion of the world's population. I think now we're seeing that the cost of getting online and the cost of access to devices is is so low that we can I think predict uh, with some confidence that over the next 10 or 20 years, most of the people in the world are going to be connected with social media in some way. And at the very bottom of the economic spectrum, we're seeing subsistence farmers and fishermen using simple SMS messages to connect with market information. And I think we will see those uses expand at all levels of society. But in terms of challenges, I think our challenge today is really one of understanding how to use these media and how not to use these media. One, therefore, of literacy rather than access. And we have so many different media. We have the forum or message board for asynchronous discussion. We've got blogs. We've got microblogs like Twitter and Yammer. We're seeing people chatting. We're increasingly seeing audio and video, like we're doing right now, being added to the mix. It's overwhelming, and it's really not a part of public education in most of the world to teach people how to deal with media. Not just how do you use the different media, but how do you use them to your advantage? How do you use it to create a knowledge collective? How do you use it to create a personal learning network, or to use your extended social network to get you what you need, and to also participate in helping other people get what they need. So I think groups like you are a relatively small group in this room, but with people all around the world, you're sort of the vanguard of something that is going to expand rapidly. And I think it's very important that people who begin to really practice using social media in their lives and begin to understand how to use and how not to use the media and how to become successful in it will be an important catalyst for others to learn. This kind of knowledge is really not the kind that's widely available in textbooks. It's on the order of what's known as lore. It's that kind of unspoken, tacit knowledge that people know who use the media. So one of the, I'd say, to bring this more towards what is it that you are going to do with your pilot project and your online community, I think you need to think about integrating both the technical and the social and the personal aspects to it. It's really not easy to achieve a critical mass of participation in an online group. We all have so many different media that we use. We have so many different claims on our attention that it, contrary to, I think, a popular belief that if you build an online site, people will come and use it, that in fact you need to have several key aspects to work properly for an online social network to work, for a virtual community to work. First of all, the technology needs to not be an obstacle. And I found when teaching social media at universities here in the U.S. that although I am very comfortable with putting together different Web 2.0 applications, and I'm sure that many of you in this room are, that students found that trying to use one kind of message board, one kind of forum, one kind of blog, and another application for chat added to the confusion of trying to learn to communicate in a new way. So the media that we've introduced for this pilot is a free and open source platform that I created with a developer under a grant from the MacArthur Foundation in order to provide a platform for educators to use social media, even if those educators were not technically sophisticated, or even if their students had not been introduced to these media before. The main idea was to create a uniform user interface so that people, whether they're students or whether they're alumni or some other kind of group, could fluidly switch by just clicking on different tabs on a browser from an asynchronous forum to a personal blog to a chat. So reducing the barriers that are posed by the user interfaces of the software is really the first step. If it's too complicated for people to get online and use the media, then that reduces participation. And I think that the important other aspects are social. That the advantage of having a network is that it's a group of people who share a common interest and who can multiply what they know and what they can do around that interest. Those of you who have participated in a productive way in a special interest online community know that you can learn things there every day that you can't really learn as well from just reading textbooks or reading sources online. Having a group of people, each of which share an interest, enables you to really multiply your capability of learning. When I first got online about 25 years ago, I found that people got to know me and I got to know them, and they got to know what was interesting to me and I got to know what was interesting to them. So we automatically steered information to each other. We were also able, as a group, to have discussions, asynchronous discussions about topics of interest, and each of us bring our particular knowledge and expertise to that discussion in a way that really multiplied what any one of us knows. So I think that knowledge multiplying capability of an online group can prove to be tremendously important. The other aspect of that social aspect of building an online community that I think is connected to this knowledge sharing is generally what's called social capital. The ability of networks of people who have some degree of trust in each other and who share some norms of reciprocity, who are going to give as well as take information from each other, enables that group of people to get things done that they would not be able to do otherwise. And we're seeing all sorts of examples of that online today, from the social sphere to the educational sphere. But that doesn't really work unless you have a critical mass of people. If you have a forum in which there's one post every few days from one or two people, that's not going to be attractive enough to attract that kind of critical mass of participation. I see, just if every one of the people in this room contributed to a discussion once a day or once every 1 or 2 days, then that really is sufficient to be the core of a critical mass of a network. And when other people hear about it, when you tell other people about it, and they see what you're doing, and they look to see that people are regularly contributing, they seem to know each other, they are providing information for each other, then that grows. And as the size of the group grows, and as people get to trust one another, then the ability for people to ask questions and get answers, for people to organize activities and to be able to enlist others in that social capital, that capacity to get things done, grows. So it's not something that's inherent in the technology, and it's not something that will automatically happen when a group of people who share an interest begin using online media. But over time, if a sufficient number of people stick with it, so I see there are probably about between 12 and 20 people in this room, that's really sufficient to start. If after a month, each one of you is able to bring in one other and you're to double the size of the group, that would, I think, you will see begin to develop this sufficient population, sufficient diversity of knowledge and interest that you can really provide value to each other. But I want to emphasize that some of the less practical, less specifically goal-oriented activities, just discussions about sports or weather or popular culture, that's how people get to know each other. This kind of idle talk is a kind of social glue that enables people to build up trust, to get to know not only what kind of people you are, but what people are interested in. So I think it's always important to let conversations that may not be specifically related to your common interest to continue. If they take root and grow, that's a way of growing these networks of trust that are necessary for that kind of social capital to be built. This other aspect of social capital, reciprocity, really means if somebody asks a question and I know the answer, whether that person has specifically done me a favor or answered a question for me before, then I provide the answer. It's very low cost for me to give knowledge I already have. If people reciprocate, not specifically always to each other, but to the group. If someone in the group has a question or has a need, and I can provide the answer, or I can somehow meet that need, then that's together with that networks of trust. That's what enables people to do things together. And when we originally, when I was in Barcelona in December, and we discussed what kind of online networks, what kind of virtual communities would be best to try to experiment with, the idea of alumni really was one of the initial candidates, simply because that is a group of people. It's not really a group yet, but people who share a common experience, who are not sufficiently connected on a regular basis, that by providing a means of making that connection, there's a real value that alumni can share with each other. People who shared the experience of being in a class, a course, a cohort together, after they graduate, after they're finished, they still have that same interest, but they don't have that regular daily contact that the classes bring. So that enables people who are in the same cohort to deal with each other on a regular basis after graduation. But also, I think equally or more importantly, as time goes on, the alumni have information and needs and social connections across classes. People who graduated a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago may have wisdom to share. They may have a job opportunity. They may be able to offer expertise to people who don't have their experience. And I think likewise, you need to really stay in touch with people who are at the leading edge of your field. And sometimes when you are out in the world, you've graduated, you're working, you lose touch with what people who are students have ready access to. So I think that there's a lot of potential, both in terms of intellectual sharing and of a kind of natural kind of social community potential among the alumni, and that if a critical mass, 10 or 20 or 30 people participate on a regular basis, I think that over time you could grow a community of hundreds or thousands of people that could persist, as I have seen online communities do for years and decades, and provide an ongoing value, not just online, but to facilitate offline face-to-face connections as well. That's not an easy thing to do. It requires a little bit of dedication at first. You know, if you've ever worked a hand pump that pumps water, you need to do what we call priming the pump. You need to pour a little water into the pump to get it to work. So you're the people who prime the pump by getting the conversation started and by getting to know each other. Well, of course, I think by virtue of being in the same room, you know each other a lot better than most people who encounter each other online. So as new people come online, they see that there are people who know each other. You offer a model to others who come along in the future. So there's in chaos theory, there's a theory of sensitive dependence on initial conditions. So I think that's the case in the online community, that the initial group has the opportunity to really shape how the norms and the goals of that group will develop. So that's, and I think ought to be seen more as an opportunity than as a chore for you. It's you may be creating something that will have great value for many years. So I think I've spoken for quite a while. Why don't we open this to questions?
Now, if people have questions, and I will try to repeat the question in case you cannot hear people. Okay? Can you? Oh, no. Sorry. Now you can see me. What I'm going to do now is, if people have any question, I will repeat the question in order you can listen to it. Okay? Okay. So, any questions? Any comment? Yes. No. No, bueno, lo repetiré yo. Okay, well, it's Cesar who is asking more about the technical issues about the...
Yeah, now you can hear me, right?
Can you hear him, Howard, or not?
No, can you repeat his question?
Yes, now?
No, sorry.
Not yet?
No, okay. Cesar is asking in terms of technical availability of the tool, when it's going to be able, and I think it's more an answer that I should... It's something more that I know that Howard. So the tool is going to be ready next week. So we hope that by next Wednesday we'll have the tool, because well, we have to adapt and to personalize some parts of the tool in order to be able to be ready. Then we have to give you access to the tool. It's going to be, you will have a direct link of those people that will have access, and probably we are going to put it in the campus, in the alumni area. But even if we will give you double access, either like a direct URL or either through the campus, okay? Any other thing? You have the opportunity. I have a question, Howard. It's regarding, you have talked about literacy at the beginning of the conversation. How important is that people know how to use these tools, chats, wikis, microblogs, uploading videos. And this is something that we can see that we have like young people, young generations that are more literacy on these new technologies. Then we have people like the ones that we are here, that we can say that we know more than the average of the society about how to use these tools. But then we have a lot of people, the majority of people, and people that have studied at work and even they have done it through online and it has been innovative, not necessarily know how to use these tools. So, I mean, what would you recommend us how to teach these people to use these tools? I mean, how we can really encourage these people to come here and teach them how to use in a proper way, because it's not easy. I mean, I'm sure that many people would get into the tool and they won't know how to use and when we use this and we use another thing. So it's difficult for us how to teach people.
Well, I think in my experience, the greatest value that you can have is to bring a group of people together in a room like you are today and to have a face-to-face session. You know, it's not really that difficult. It's just new. And when you're new to a communication medium, what you don't know is overwhelming to you. You may see a dashboard or a user interface and it's all unknown to you. It may be that you only need to know one or two things about it, but you don't know that you only need to know those one or two things, and you look at the whole thing and it's confusing to you. So reducing that uncertainty and confusion by learning how to do a few simple things in a face-to-face environment, I think is the best way to start. And then online, there are online how-to help available, but I think the people who learn how to use it, teaching the people who come along later, is not only an important way to distribute that knowledge, that training, but it's also, I think, an important social aspect. When I first started participating in an online community, it was very technical. At least I'm not an IT specialist or a computer programmer, and most of the people who were participating were not. And it was a very kind of old-style programmer interface, Unix-based system that wasn't transparent. It wasn't easy to see how to use it. So the people who wanted others to join them in the discussion were motivated to teach them. So there's a social aspect to it that I think has an importance beyond simply the capability of teaching newcomers. It's also a way to get acquainted. And when you really value a forum, you want more people to participate in it. That adds to the richness of it. So everyone in there who knows how to use it is then motivated to teach new people to do it. So to summarize, first of all, if you can have a brief training, I mean, I don't think it would take more than an hour altogether to learn how to use all the tools, the forum, the blog, the wiki, social bookmarking, and chat. And then secondly, simply encourage and empower people who know how to use it to teach others how to use it. So if you can learn how to get onto the forum, then you should have a forum discussion about how do we use this software. What are the intermediate and advanced tools? As long as you know how to get online and read and post, what else do you need to know how to do? Then being able to share that, if the community is a lively one and you're able to recruit people, then you will always have a fresh stream of new people joining. So having that ongoing discussion where they're able to ask and answer questions from people who know a little bit better than they are, I think that's a great way to go.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? One second, we have a question.
Hello, Howard. My question is regarding the connection between students who already interact in a virtual network, like the campus, and the link between the lives within the campus and the life outside the campus when they finish their studies. So when they are studying, they're basically interacting in terms of learning together and learning in the same university. And when they are out, they want to interact, they want to create a network, but basically they want to meet each other in terms of professional connections and professional interests. So my challenge or what I'm thinking about is whether there is there should be an equilibrium between face-to-face activities and the media and the social and the virtuality, because they are not interacting in the same terms as they did before when they were just students.
All right. Yes, I think it's always a challenge and an opportunity to connect the online discussion and the online relationships to the face-to-face world. Usually, it works the same way that it works with your university, in that people know each other online, but have not met face-to-face. And so, if the online interaction is valuable, people want to meet face-to-face if they are in the same city, or even if they're not. I know of many stories of people who come from around the world to go to an annual meeting of an online community because they feel such a strong bond to that community. So if the people are in the same city, then I think that desire to meet develops. It's absolutely, I think, works best if it emerges spontaneously from the group. If they say, who wants, we're having a discussion about eating in the city that we live and best restaurants, why don't we all go out and try a restaurant together? Or here we are, we're all fans of the same team, we're talking about our team, why don't we meet up during the game or after the game? So in order, if there are connections between people that develop online around interests like food or sports, then there are natural opportunities in the face-to-face world to get together. I think also it works the other way as well, that to any chance that you can have a regular get-together, say on once a month, people who participate in this forum can come to this online forum can come to a place and have a face-to-face meeting, eat a little food, have some wine, talk to each other. Then that's also valuable, but I think that takes a while to develop. And I wouldn't think that immediately you're going to get a lot of enthusiasm for that. But as the community grows, I think that the need to do that grows. I remember one instance in an online community where somebody in a discussion started bragging about how good they were able to cook a chili dish here, and so there's a lot of argument between the way they do it in Texas and the way they do it in New Orleans. So I'm sure that there's the same thing in Spain about certain dishes. People cook them in different ways. And so someone said, well, instead of just bragging about it, let's just have a chili cook-off. And so we got a place where there was a kitchen and people came in and they cooked their dish, and then people came in and tasted it, and they had an award for a prize, and it got to be so popular. Hundreds of people would come to this that they do it every year. It became an annual event. It was nothing that the organization invented. It was something that the participants came up with. But I think particularly at the beginning, this face-to-face meeting like you're having right now is important in the sense that we all know that online you can only interact with part of a person. You don't really know much about the people that you are communicating with online, particularly if it's all in text. Now we're beginning to add video, which I think gives more of an authentic sense of the other person there. But to some degree, you really there's something of a shock when you meet someone face to face that you've known online, and you get to know them better. And I think online, there are a lot of opportunities for misunderstanding in online discussions, and that a certain amount of trust is required for those to not become such friction that it drives people out of the community. So the more people who know each other face to face, the more trust there is in that. I might not know you directly face to face, but my friend knows you, and my friend says that you're a trustworthy person. So the more face-to-face relationships, even if it's not everybody, even if it's just a proportion of the population, then I think that the more trust spreads through the network, and the more people are willing to share things for each other. So again, to sum up, I think it's natural for a group of people who are enthusiastic about their online discussions to want to get together face to face, and that the best way to do this is for it to grow out of their interests. But also, I think one of the few things that a sponsoring organization can do is to furnish a place and buy the refreshments and make it known to people that they can show up on one Friday a month or one Friday a week, and they can get technical answers to how to use the forum, or they can meet people. So I think it works both ways, spontaneously organized by people, but also organized by the organizers of the forum.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment, question? Another question. Sí.
Hi. So I guess that now that we are here and we are quite engaged in this future pilot of this future community, what we all want to do is to be engaging, and if you want, attractive, to engage as many people as possible without being blatant about it, to participate. And I guess that while we should respect our personal communication styles, because we don't want to stop being ourselves, I at least would like some tips that you could offer on how to be engaging in such a community, especially at the very beginning, when the number of people participating is not low, but also is not that high.
All right. Well, I think it's important to have a variety of online places. So you can have a study hall where people can talk about formal subjects. You could have a professional development place where people can speak as professionals about the field. But you can also have like a lounge or an informal place where you're not expected to speak with the kind of precision that you do as a professional or in a classroom. You can be more relaxed, more informal, and you can talk about subjects that of interest that may not be specific to your field. It may be that a number of people are interested in bird watching. Well, what does bird watching have to do with the professional aspect? It may have nothing to do with the professional aspect other than the fact that it's a way for people to get to know each other, and it's another reason to attract people to the forum. So I think it's very important to have that informal aspect, but also to use the affordances of the online media to create a sense of different places within the same community. So I can joke in this place, but I can be more formal in this other place. I think one community I was in many years ago, someone started something they called Socrates Bar and Grill, in which they pretended to be the innkeeper, the bartender, and they would serve a drink to anyone who asked for it. And because it's online, you could ask for a coffee, you could ask for a sangria, you could ask for a gigantic helicopter dropping a marshmallow into a steaming lake of cocoa. I mean, it's all in your mind, so you can make it up. And the bartender the innkeeper would furnish whatever it is they requested, but you had to pay with a quotation. So people would come with quotations from literature or from popular culture, and also, like in a bar or a cafe, just informal discussion is encouraged. I think there's a certain amount of topic discipline that is required when you're having a professional discussion. If you're discussing a topic and the conversation drifts into another subject, then you move that drift into another place and you get back to the topic. But in this Socrates Bar and Grill, topic drift is encouraged. People are encouraged to digress as much as they want. So I think you need to balance teaching people and establishing norms of staying on topic in the designated topic, but also have plenty of opportunities in designated places where people can get off topic and go and talk about whatever it is that they want. So I think when you establish at the beginning that there are a number of places where people who want very serious information exchange and people who just simply want to get acquainted or talk about food or sports, that they see that there is a place to have those discussions. And you don't have to just be interested in one kind of discussion to participate. So I think having that variety is very important at the beginning. And I think of utmost importance is for the people who are already there to welcome newcomers when they show up. I think the single factor that predicts whether someone is going to return to an online community after they've first participated is that if somebody responds to the first post they make and responds by name and seems to show some personal interest, you look at their profile and you see, oh, I see you're in the same town as I am, or I see that you share an interest in the same kind of literature. You indicate that you know that they are a person and that you're indicating some interest in them. That's tremendously important. For one thing, when you are a newcomer to an online community, it seems like everyone who's already there, even if they just joined yesterday, is all part of a club that knows each other, and you're trying to break into that. So you need to keep in mind that even if you just joined 5 minutes ago, you're an old-time member to someone who just joined, and that establishing a norm of welcoming people, calling them by name, pointing them to some discussion that might be of interest to them, I think that's very important for the people at the beginning. Not only for the people at the beginning to recruit more people, but I think also to establish a model, to establish a norm that people understand. Well, part of being a community member here is to welcome newcomers. So I might not have a lot of professional advice, or I might not have something that's academically brilliant to say, but I can welcome newcomers. I can point them to a discussion topic. So making a place for everybody, people who just make jokes, people who tell newcomers where they can find discussions, people who provide links to resources, all of those people add a value and feel that they are acknowledged for their values. So again, to summarize, acknowledging people, recognizing that, calling them by name. There's nothing more disappointing than seeing a discussion it's kind of scary to say the first thing in a group, whether it's online or offline, and then not have anyone respond. You get disappointed, you go away. If you overcome your fear and you say something and people respond, then you're more likely to add to it.
I think that you have answered very well all our questions and concerns. I think it was very useful, and it was a way that people get to know you also, that you have participated in this project, and that, as you say, that all these presential activities now we are starting. Next week we'll have another session where we will do what we call speed dating. So what we could do is that some of the people, we'll have like 1 minute to explain to the other person which are their interests and what do they do, what do they work on, and it would be a good way to know to each other, and then it's going to be easier then in the virtual community to have more posts, and that to people feel, as you were saying, that we have to avoid to be very scary to write down, so that we have to make it easier, and that when someone writes a question or posts something, that we find someone else that welcomes this person and that answers. So I think that by knowing each other in a good way, it's going to be easier. And now, after your intervention, we are going to talk a little bit, and then we have a little dinner, an aperitivo, that it will help us also to start this community. So I think that from my part, thank you very much for attending. I know that it's very early in the morning in San Francisco, so we are very grateful to have you here, okay?
Okay, thank you. I just want to close by saying that we call this a pilot project because it's an experiment. You can't expect an online community to work perfectly the first time. So all of you are really pioneers in this experiment, and the idea is to find out what works and what doesn't work, and to learn from that, and then to redesign this so that it will work better. And next time, instead of 20 people in the room, there'll be 200 people in the room. So good luck. Max and I will continue to be available to help and advise with this, and I think that you have a lot of potential to be very successful online community. So I hope to see you again in person in your beautiful city and online as well.
Okay, thank you very much, and see you another day. Bye.
Hasta la vista.
Bye.